Now, you may think that the story of Cantre'r Gwaelod is just that, a story. But in 1907, down here, they found the skeleton of a pig. And this skeleton of the pig, it was trapped underneath what had once been a branch of a tree. And near its neck, near the vertebrae in its neck, there were 2 flint arrowheads. So it seemed that hunters must have killed this pig. Well, in 2010, a lady was walking her dog on a low tide, and she came across what turned out to be a fossilized peat bog. This peat bog had turned to a kind of stone. But what was really interesting about it was there were footprints in it. Some of the footprints were of animals, things like deer. But most of the footprints, they were human footprints. They were adult footprints and children's footprints. And when the archaeologists looked at these footprints, they saw that they'd sunk very deep into the peat, as though these people had stood for a long time, waiting for something. And so the archaeologists put together the idea of the skeleton of the pig and this peat bog. And they suggested that once, when the sea level was much lower, out here there had been a watering hole where animals would come. And a band of hunters had ambushed that pig and shot it, but somehow the pig had managed to crawl away and die beneath the branch of that tree and was never found by the hunters. So it's up to you. You can decide whether Cantre'r Gwaelod is a story or not. But in Cantre'r Gwaelod, in King Gwyddnaw's castle, and out in the streets of his town, and all over the land that evening there was feasting, and dancing, and singing, and music. And there was someone who came to the feast in the castle who had never been to a feast before. This was Meredith. Meredith, who was the maiden of the well. It was her job to look after King Gwyddnaw's special well in the town. Now it was said that anybody who looked into this well or drank the waters of this well would know something about wisdom and inspiration and poetry. But even Meredith herself was not allowed to look in the well, and there was a big flat stone on the top of it. And it was her job to take the water to the castle for the king. And she was invited this first night for the first time to this feast. And Meredith, she was beautiful. She had long red hair and green eyes. And all the young men gathered around Meredith, and they kept giving her drinks and talking to her. And Meredith drank the drinks and she chatted. And so late into the night, she drank quite a lot of drinks. And then she realized it was time she must leave, and she left the feast. She left them partying in the castle, and she began to make her way through the streets underneath the moonlit sky. And as she was going home, she had one of those ideas that we often have late at night when we're on our own. She thought to herself, what harm could it do if I looked in the well? No one would know, and maybe I would learn something about wisdom and inspiration. Maybe I could even write a poem to King Gwyddnaw. And so when she got back to the well, she slid the stone off and she looked down into the darkness. But she couldn't see anything, but she could hear something. She could hear a roaring sound, a bubbling sound, and suddenly water shot out of the well. She tried to put the stone back on, but she couldn't. It flipped it off like it was just a little coin. Already the water was up to her ankles. It was clear that the water was going to drown the town. Meredith began splashing her way back towards the castle. As she went, she began banging on doors and shouting out, trying to warn people. But everybody was asleep. Behind her, when she looked, she could see great white horses of waves bearing down on her, rolling through the town. She came to a place where there was a tower. She began to climb up the circular steps of the tower till she got to the top. There was a bell. She began to ring the bell. And then the waters came up over her waist, over her chest, up to her chin, over her head. The waters burst through the castle doors, burst into the banqueting hall, swept all away, drowned King Gwyddnaw's castle, his town, and the land of Country Gwaelod. Everyone drowned except one. The next morning, on the shore down here, there was a body. It was the boy. He woke in a place where there'd never been a shore before. And that boy, he did become a poet. He became a bard. And he composed a lament about the drowning of Country Gwaelod. And he sang that lament many times. And after he was gone, many other bards and poets, they sang the lament thousands and thousands of times until in the 12th century it was written down in the Black Book of Carmarthen, which is why I've been able to tell you that story today.